Hello everybody, welcome to the Wednesday Multiclass season opener at the Red Bull Ring. We are back yet again on Wednesdays with the same old multi-class format we all know and love. The GT3s and the GT4s in ACC. Qualifying will be getting going any second here out on track. But before all that, hope everybody is doing well. Let's go racing indeed, Doc Milwy. Hello, Guerrero. Let's go indeed. And here we go to the track itself. Hope everybody in the chat is doing well, having a good Wednesday so far this evening. We've got the GT4s going out on track first. Here we got Pak Hei Kwan in the number 10 Porsche, looking to set the pace early on in the session. The first 10 minutes of qualifying are for the GT4s. After that point, the GT3s are allowed to start their outlaps for their 10 minutes at the end of the 20-minute session. Nice and bright during the day, optimum track conditions, battling there on track with the 105 for position of Andres Mostachero. The 105 going through turn number 8 before the final braking zone, or the final set of corners, I should say. There's two braking zones going down the hill here into turn number 10 before Andres starts the first push lap of the session. Relatively short lap around the Red Bull Ring, 2.68 miles, only 10 corners. Two of them really are just kind of flat bends. So realistically, only about 8 corners. Not too many braking zones to keep track of. Turn 1, one of the best overtaking opportunities. Need to carry the speed through the apex to keep the momentum from the car going all the way up the hill to turn number 3. Very tight corner. One of the slowest on the track. And Andres, they're pushing the limits, exiting the corner before shooting back down the hill into the braking zone of turn number 4. Using all of the track available, going as far onto the curb as the sim allows. Sweeping to the right-hand side through turn 5. A dab on the brakes into 6 before slinging the car to the left all the way down the hill. Again, a slight dab on the brakes before pitching the car to the left-hand side and back to the right, before going up a slight hill and then back down for the 2 final braking zones at turn number 9 and 10. Swinging out wide, looking to carry as much speed as possible. Hitting the apex, doesn't want to run too wide there, and it looks like he kept it just within the lines there. Hits the apex perfectly at 10. The BMW handling the curbs very well. And what sort of time will Mostachero post? It's a 1:36.907 as he crosses the line. Juan on the board there, about 4.5 seconds back, with more cars coming up to the line. Let's see where Jacob Church, one Bigley, will finish in the 2.53. Going through the final, or approaching the final sector, I should say. Hello, Neil. Hope you're doing well. Excited to see what sort of times the GT3s will produce. Was a tight championship battle last season out. And it looks like you yourself, Neil, have switched over to those GT3s. Ilpo Ruotsalainen in the 204 Camaro going to the top of the charts. And where will the sister Camaro of the 253 go? Not a valid time on the board there from Jacob Church. Not sure what's going on there. It looks like a lot of cars disconnected. We went from 20 down to 14 here. But Ilpo Ruotsalainen on top, Alex Freeman now in second, Diego Mostachero third, Brian DeSantiago fourth. And then you've got Pak Hae Kwan in 10th place. Oh my goodness, in 5th place in the number 10. Getting all mixed up here in the numbers. Then Joe Jericola, no time on the board yet, but looking to change that as he goes through the final corner a little bit sideways. And to the line goes the number 9, and all the way up to 4th place he goes. That's the same time as the number 44, Diego Mostachero. Brian DeSantiago moves up to 3rd place now in the 777 BMW. And Alex Freeman on the front row, but looking to make it the top spot as he goes through now the final corner. 4 minutes left in the GT4 qualifying session. There come all the names back. That is good to see. And Alex Freeman does improve his time, but does not improve his position. And now, with all the names coming back, Mostachero in 2nd place. Alex Freeman then kicked back to 3rd, but he did improve his time. Then you have Brian DeSantiago in 4th, Diego Mostachero 5th, Joe Jericola in 6th, Professor Chronotis 7th, Dr. Porkchop in the Alpine in 8th place, Sam Warden 9th, Jacob Church gets a time on the board in 10th place, Rally Dutchy 11th, and Pak Hae Kwan in 12th place. Right on board with Alex Freeman, and right as we do, he runs a little bit wide and invalidates the lap there. So we will go to fellow Aston Martin driver Diego Mostachero, who has the identical time set to Joe Jericola, but no, that is no longer the case as he improves his time by a couple of tenths, but still needs about 3 tenths if he wants to get past Brian DeSantiago sitting in front of him. You can jot that camera switch as a commentator's curse there after switching to Alex Freeman, unfortunately losing the time he had, having to go around, and with just 2.5 minutes left in the GT4 qualifying session, now is really the time to get those laps in.
Holy smoke!
One Bigley, welcome back to the podium for 33 consecutive months. Thank you, as always, for the continued support from myself and the rest of the Trackilicious crew, doing all of the hard work in the background to get these championships up and running for you guys. Thank you so much for the subscription. Diego Mostachero running through the gravel, though, unfortunately invalidating his lap. And he will have just one more flying lap attempt. And Rose Gaming, also back with 33 consecutive months, twinning with One Bigley. And thank you again for the continued support. Love to see returning members. Oh, and unfortunately there, Diego Mostachero eating a lot of the sausage curb, and that will unfortunately see him invalidate his final flying lap attempt and the donation from One Bigley as well. Thank you so much, my friend. As Ilpo Ruotsalainen gets across the line, does improve the time at the top to a 1:08.632. And that is now the time to chase for the rest of the GT4 field.
Holy smokes!
And Draven is here with only 5 months. But hey, 5 months is better than no months. Still new, but still kicking it here at Trackilicious. And as always, a big thank you from everybody in the background doing all of the hard work really to put on these championships. I am just here to make it fun for you guys and provide a little bit of on-track commentary. And yeah, we really couldn't do it without your guys' support for these championships. Brian De Santiago to the line. 4th place will be the best that the 777 BMW can do. Does improve his time at the end there. And so now it is up to the remaining drivers on track. Sam Warden improves to 7th there as we switched over to the Camaro driver. Professor Chronotis looking for an improvement to the line. Goes the number 42 AMG, and he goes into the top 5. Big improvement there, all the way from 8th to 5th. Alex Freeman just now crossing the line in the number 14. Does improve his time, but can't get up to the front row. And Rose Gaming with a gifted sub to the viewers. My goodness, you guys are spreading the love here tonight in the season opener of the Wednesday Multiclass Championship. Andres Mostachero, the last GT4 driver out on track, looking to get on pole position with the GT3 field chasing him for their outlaps. Where can Andres Mostachero go? 2nd will be the highest that he will place. And so now with that, the GT3 field begins their flying laps, and it is the championship lead, or the championship winner from last season, Kevin Yu, getting things started in the number 95 Ferrari. And so with the GT3 field now going out, the GT4 field is set with the 12 drivers. 42 still out on track, but returning to the pits, that's Professor Chronotis. Who finishes the qualifying session in the top 5. Through the camera goes the Ferrari. The fast sweeping chicane at turns 7 and 8. Now down the hill into turn 9. The GT3 is carrying so much more speed than the GT4s through these fast corners. A dab of the brakes, taking the curb perfectly there. What time will be the benchmark set by the Ferrari? And it looks like he invalidated his lap there. But Sarah Liu did not behind in the Lexus. A 1:28.160 is the time to chase. Fellow Lexus driver Neil Kerbel coming in there in 2nd place. Jim Reynolds in 3rd. As we move to Brian Zerline in the 25 Ferrari. Where will Brian Zerline finish? He goes on the board in 4th place, followed by Sam King in the 999 Porsche. No times on the board from Josh Ransom, Joe Allenson, or Kevin Yu. They will look to change that. 6 minutes left in their qualifying session. Track conditions looking pretty good here in the qualifying. Nice and warm, optimum clear skies. No disruptions of rain. And through the fast corners. Joe Allenson in the BMW just carrying so much speed. Bit of a wiggle there as he exits. And Kevin Yu still not able to get a valid lap on the board as he crosses the line. Sarah Liu improves the time at the top by about 1/10 of a second. Neil Kerbel not able to improve his time, and neither will Jim Reynolds. But Joe Allenson now looking to put a time on the board, and he goes into the top 5 in 4th and immediately gets moved down by Brian Zerline, who gets ahead of him for that 4th place position. Josh Ransom in the TVR 325 Honda. No time on the board, but has some time to put in a few laps. We've got a hydrate from Xander Zone. Cheers, my friend. Take a sip of some tea here before we start a full lap with Josh Ransom as he demonstrates how to go around the Red Bull Ring. Taking turn 1 a little bit cautiously there over the curbs. Doesn't want to unsettle the car before this long straightaway up the hill. Technically turn 2 right here up this little hill into the braking zone. Hard on the brakes right around the 100-meter mark for the Honda, turning it very quickly into the right-hander before sweeping a little bit down the hill. And now into turn 4, downhill braking zone, easy to go deep, but he does not do so in the 325. Kevin Yu getting a time on the board. He goes to 3rd. And now Josh Ransom into the left-hander of turn 6, looking to keep the lap valid and get one on the board here with just 3.5 minutes left in the session. Doesn't want to run wide in the final few corners, carrying all the speed that he can up this little hill before shooting back down into the braking zone of turn 9. Very cautiously, doesn't want to run wide over the curbs on the entry, taking a good amount on the exit, ignoring the sausage completely on the entry of 10, and going to the line to get a time on the board is the 325, and he goes to 8th place. Sarah Liu in the 310 Lexus, taking a much more aggressive line through the final corner, taking a lot of sausage curb. They're looking for an improvement, already leading by about 7/10, now make it 9, as it is a 27.835 on the board from the Lexus. Neil Kerbel behind in the SimSense Syndicate 395 Lexus. Needs a good chunk of pace to catch up to the time set by the provisional pole sitter, Sarah Liu. Less than 2 minutes on the clock. Very important to get the laps in now when it counts. Does Neil Kerbel have an answer for the pace of Sarah Liu out in front? So after these drivers cross the line, they will have one last attempt at improving their qualifying position. Lap there still valid from Neil Kerbel, keeping it just within track limits as he takes the curbing to perfection, exiting turn number 8. And Sarah Liu in front invalidates the lap and invalidates her next flying lap attempt, so that'll be the session done for the number 310. Neil Kerbel can't get an improvement on that lap, so he will have one more lap to see if he can take that top spot away from Sarah Liu. The 999 Porsche sitting in 6th. Needs about 3/10 to get into the top 5. And can't get the improvement there, but does cross the line before the checkered flag. Oh, and that is a snappy entry into the corner. So that will be the session finished for Sam King. So 6 will be the highest that the Porsche will be able to qualify, unless Joe Allenson or Josh Ransom have an answer for that lap time. Joe Allenson doesn't in the 62 BMW, so 7th will be where the British driver will end up. And Josh Ransom in the pits from 8th. So it is now up to Kevin Yu and Neil Kerbel to change up the order. Neil Kerbel and Kevin Yu setting identical lap times, but luckily Neil Kerbel able to get his lap time first, but no improvement from the Lexus. So it is down now to Kevin Yu, 1,000th of a second of an improvement. We'll see him get past the 395 Lexus currently in front of him, and that will see him on the front row. Cheers one bigly for the hydrate. Kevin Yu runs deep through turn 8 and through the gravel he goes. So that is the session done for Kevin Yu in the number 95. 3rd will be the highest he can finish. Joe Allenson crosses the line before the checkered flag. It looked like he timed that to perfection. So can the 62 find a way past Sam King sitting in front in 6th place, and Joe Allenson runs wide, invalidating the lap. And that will bring an end to the first qualifying session of the season. Oh man, at the end there, 2 invalid laps from the 95 and the 62 in the GT3 session. But before we get to the GT3 field, let's remind ourselves of the GT4 qualifying order. On pole position, you have Ilpo Ruotsalainen in the Creme de la Course 204 Camaro. Alongside him in the 105 is Andres Mostachero in the North American Peruvian Sim Team BMW. Alex Freeman starts in 3rd place in the AF Sport number 14 Aston Martin, and he will have Brian DeSantiago in the 777 BMW alongside him for company. Professor Chronotis in 5th place in the T Swizzalicious number 42 AMG. And not fellow AMG driver, I was going to say. It's an Aston Martin driver. It's Diego Mostachero in the Naps Team number 44 Aston Martin. Got a little ahead of myself. This is the AMG behind Professor Chronotis on the grid. The number 9 of Joe Charagola in the Blackstone Racing livery. Alongside him will be Sam Warden in the Mighty Putty Racing number 7 Camaro. Then you have Dr. Porkchop in the Lone Alpine on the grid in the number 71 Chop Shop Racing. Jacob Church next in the 1 Bigley 253 Camaro. Rally Dutchy looking to carry over the practice from the rookies into the Wednesday Multiclass in the 621 Nine-Tail Racing Janetta. Then you have Pak Hae Kwan in the number 10 Porsche, rounding out the GT4 grid. And now the GT3s, Sarah Liu on top in the Denso Storm Chasers 310 Lexus. Neil Kerbel makes it an all Lexus front row in the 395 SimSense Syndicate livery. Kevin Yu next in the number 95 Ferrari. He will start from third place. Then you've got two Ferraris behind him. First, you'll have Jim Reynolds in the BJ Racing 313 on the second row. And starting from fifth will be Brian Zerline in the number 25 Ferrari. Sam King alongside him in sixth in the 999 Nifty Motorsports Porsche. Joe Allenson in the number 62 BMW M Team WRT Good Smile Racing BMW. Then you have Josh Ransom in the 325 TVR Honda. And he rounds out the 8 GT3 cars on the grid. 12 GT4s, 8 GT3s should be very exciting racing based on how close those qualifying times were. Neil Kerbel and Kevin Yu setting identical times, but Neil Kerbel getting his time in first means he will line up ahead of the number 95 on the grid. Can the three Ferraris behind the two Lexuses do anything about the dominating performance in the qualifying session? We do have the one pit stop as well to consider through the 50-minute race ahead of us. The GT4 field also very tightly packed. Lots of familiar faces from last season looking to carry that momentum into the beginning of this season. And so now at a track that has hosted Formula One, MotoGP, GT racing, and plenty of other racing series, it is now the host for the season opener of the Wednesday Multiclass Championship. The grid getting set, lining up side by side in zipper formation. Can Sarah Liu get the early jump into turn one? Can Neil Kerbel put a challenge lining up on the inside? Can the Ferraris in the back get a good jump as well? Only time will tell. We wait for the green light to begin our championship.
Green light, go, go, go.
And the season is now underway. Sarah Liu, fantastic getaway. Already a car length ahead of Neil Kerbel. Can't even put a challenge into the braking zone of turn one. And Sarah Liu now comfortably ahead of Neil Kerbel. Kevin Yu trying to provide a challenge to the Lexus out in front. Nearly collided on the exit of turn one. But now both the Lexus and the Ferrari have a good slipstream coming up the hill here into turn number 3. And now the Lexus up in front of Sarah Liu, looking to run away from Neil Kerbel and Kevin Yu. As we look further into the GT4 field, Alex Freeman gets the lead. He's now ahead of Ilpo Ruotsalainen. Or no, excuse me, it's Andres Mostachero in the lead in the 105 BMW. Ilpo Ruotsalainen sliding back to third place. Alex Freeman and Andres Mostachero taking advantage of the Camaro, dropping back. Brian DeSantiago remains in fourth place where he started. And then you have behind him Diego Mostachero in the 44, moving up a position. Oh no, Neil Kerbel! What's happened here? Oh, I'm not sure if there was contact before, but we couldn't quite pick up what happened there. But unfortunately, he's gonna have to wait for this GT4 field to go through before he gets back up and going. Not sure if there was contact with another driver, but that is very unfortunate to see as Ilpo Ruotsalainen looks to make up the positions lost from the start here, chasing down the Aston Martin of Alex Freeman. Camaro using the straight line speed advantage as best as it can. Has a bit of a slipstream in front, but isn't quite close enough to challenge into the braking zone here. And at just 2.5 minutes into the race, don't want to put on too aggressive of a move. That is Andres Mostachero running a little bit wide on the exit of turn 3. This might give Alex Freeman a look at an overtake going down the hill into turn 4, but he does not seem to be quite close enough to challenge for the lead just yet. And with Ilpo pressuring behind, doesn't want to commit too much to a move to open himself up to an opportunity behind. These drivers taking very different racing lines through turn 6. The BMW a little bit sooner in the entry than the Camaro and the Aston, taking a bit of a wide line there. Brian DeSantiago in the 777 BMW looking to get involved in the mix. Could he find himself sitting on the podium come the end of the race? Up ahead in the GT3s, Sam King attacking Brian Zerline for 4th place as they go up the hill into turn number 3. And is this the moment Sam King is going to send to the inside? He does go to the inside. This might allow Joe Allenson a move around the outside, but he runs a little bit wide and doesn't want to run too wide and pick up a track limit violation. Neil Kerbel also coming into the pits now, or earlier I should say, to serve that mandatory pit stop, so he is all clear. Side by side, Sam King and Brian Zerline, the Porsche around the outside, just can't quite find the grip, but it gripped up just in time for him to take the position around the outside, and now Zerline drifting through 6, can't keep the position from Joe Allenson in the BMW, so that is 2 positions lost in 2 corners for the number 25 Ferrari. And Joe Chericola looking to pull off the same move, except he has the inside line from the Alpine. Dr. Porkchop can't quite fight back, and Joe Chericola will hang on to the position for the time being. And this is for 2nd place in the GT4 field. Alex Freeman defending from Ilpo Ruotsalainen, taking the racing line still, comfortable on the brakes into turn 1, happy with the position he has. But now Ilpo Ruotsalainen will look to line up the move, going up the hill. Going to the left at turn 2. The Camaro goes to the inside. Who will be last on the brakes? Alex Freeman respecting the position of the inside to Ilpo, but he's able to maintain a lot of speed around the outside there. And while these two are battling, Andres Mostachero is opening up a good advantage for the lead of the GT4s. Ilpo to the inside. Alex Freeman happy to give that space. He's looking to complete the switchback, carrying a lot more speed through the corner, but Ilpo has the track position now as he gets the overtake done into turn 4 and takes 2nd place from Alex Freeman. Brian DeSantiago looking to move up into a podium position as well in that purple 777 BMW behind. And Professor Chronotis battling with Diego Mostachero for a spot in the top 5. This is what the Camaro sees behind. Alex Freeman running a little bit wide. Brian DeSantiago taking the inside run into turn number 1. Alex Freeman late on the brakes as he keeps the track position and crucially the podium position ahead of Brian DeSantiago. And they go side by side, the BMW having a huge speed advantage. Now Alex Freeman defends to the inside. Can Brian DeSantiago keep the grip around the outside in the BMW and fight back for that position? The 777 is going to have his work cut out for him going down the hill at turn 4. Very tricky to keep the grip around the outside of this corner. And very easy for the driver on the inside to push the driver into the gravel. Alex Freeman, though, very respectful, giving Brian DeSantiago plenty of space around the outside, but now he's going to have the inside. Oh, and a bit of a lockup on the brakes. Sees Alex Freeman continue to defend third place from Brian DeSantiago. This is how the battle behind for 5th place is looking. Professor Chronotis trying to stay close to the 44 of Diego Mostachero. Those two swapping places at the start after the 42 started in 5th and Diego from 6th, now riding in reverse order. But the 42 is staying close to the 44, not giving him a lot of breathing room, and certainly keeping him on his toes, applying the pressure all the way around the lap. Up in front, Brian DeSantiago pushing Alex Freeman off the track there as he ran on the outside of those sausage curbs, exiting turn number 3. But it looks like he was able to keep enough speed to defend from the fast-charging 777 behind. Joe Allenson able to get by Sam King. Let's take a look and see how he was able to get the move done. Oh my goodness, what happened there? Sam King might have just lost some focus there, and going into the wall on the pit straight gives the position to Joe Allenson, and now he is under pressure from Brian Zerline for a spot in the top 5 of the GT3 field. Perhaps just setting an adjustment on the pit strategy or adjusting something on the setup to his car. But just veering off into the pit wall there was the 999 Porsche. Professor Chronotis gets through Diego Mostachero. Will Diego Mostachero fight back into this corner? Not quite into the braking zone. Let's take a look and see how Professor Chronotis got the position. So Diego defending to the outside of the corner, allowing the space to the inside for Professor Chronotis. He takes the curb pretty heavily, and then it is a straight line speed battle all the way up the hill through turn 2 and into the braking zone of turn 3, and that is where we tuned into the battle, where Professor Chronotis was comfortably ahead here into this braking zone, where we switched over to the replay. And as we're back to live pictures, Professor Chronotis still ahead of Diego Mostachero, maintains the position in the top 5 ahead of the number 44 Aston Martin. Gaps opening up in the GT3 field. Sarah Liu with a 10-second advantage over Kevin Yu in second place. Then about 2.5 seconds separates the number 95 Ferrari from the 313 in third place. Then you have Joe Allenson in fourth, about 6.5 seconds back, with Sam King a further 2.5 seconds adrift from Joe Allenson. Brian's Airline challenging Sam King for a position. That is the closest GT3 battle we have on track. Then you have Josh Ransom in 7th place, with Neil Kerbel working his way through the GT4 traffic after he has completed the early pit stop in the race. Lots of battles, though, going on in the GT4 field. Ilpo Ruotsalainen has caught up to Andres Mostachero and now challenging him for the lead of the GT4s after qualifying on pole position. The Camaro of Ruotsalainen wants that position back from the man that shared the front row with him in the 105 BMW. It'll certainly be interesting to see what happens once the GT3 cars begin to work their way through these battling cars up in front, and just who will take advantage of those positions. And into turn one, the 105 ahead, but taking the curb pretty aggressively, a little bit bouncy on the exit. Can't quite apply the power down as well as he might have liked, but it doesn't look like the 204 is close enough on this occasion. But Brian DeSantiago in the other BMW looks to the inside, and Alex Freeman goes deep. 777, the BMW to the inside, and now has that line, hopefully for him, all the way into turn number 4, where he can turn that into a late braking zone lunge. And here he goes into turn 4. Alex Freeman so confident on the brakes in the Aston Martin, doesn't give any position up easily. And here Brian DeSantiago certainly has his work cut out for him, trying to get by into those heavy braking zones. Ilpo Ruotsalainen looks to do the same here. With 15 minutes gone in the race, still 35 minutes to go. Only Neil Kerbel has stopped for that mandatory pit stop. And as I say that, Ilpo Ruotsalainen dives in, and he looks to get the early undercut on Andres Mostachero in the 105. Will the early pit stop pay off for the Camaro? And he dives in at a crucial part as well, right when the GT3 traffic was rolling in. Was that planned for Ilpo, or was he just taking advantage of what was given to him? And Professor Chronotis losing the position to the 44 of Diego Mostachero for a spot in the top 5 of the GT4s. Pretty evenly matched in the top speed department are the Aston Martin and the AMG. Chronotis looking to have a sniff up the inside of turn 4, but not quite. But the opportunity didn't quite open up for him, I should say. That's Kevin Yu in the number 95 Ferrari in the background there, working his way through Sam Warden and Joe Chericola. Joe Chericola closing the gap to Sam Warden within half a second now. Can the AMG take advantage of the Camaro in front down the long straights here? Long straights, heavy braking zones, perfect overtaking opportunities for these GT3 cars. That's Jim Reynolds in the 313 Ferrari there in the background, approaching this battling duo. Oh, and there's a bit of contact, I believe, from Joe Chericola to the back of Sam Warden as they go into the braking zone of turn 1. Brian DeSantiago gets ahead of Alex Freeman. Let's see how he did it. Oh, he was already ahead. My goodness, we missed so much. So Brian DeSantiago got ahead of Alex Freeman in the later half of the lap. And the BMW happy to stay ahead here as Alex Freeman, right as we tuned in here, thought about having a look, but just wasn't quite close enough there to take advantage. And right as we tune in live, Alex Freeman is ahead of Brian DeSantiago. What do you know? Replay skills not quite coming into play there, but the overtaking skills from Joe Chericola will look to come into play here. And once again, this battling duo has a GT3 approaching them at a very inopportune moment into the braking zone here at turn 9, and there's contact, further contact. Joe Chericola into Sam Warden, and then the 62 BMW of Allenson hitting the AMG there as well. Both cars stranded there on the exit of turn 9 before turn 10, and hopefully the 7 can get rolling here soon, and it looks like Sam Warden able to do just that. Alex Freeman in the pits, as is Sam Warden, after that contact with Joe Chericola. Deary me indeed. "12 laps completed so far from our leader, Sarah Liu. And so far, only Neil Kerbel, the only one in the GT3 field to complete the pit stop so far. And then in the GT4 category, Andres Mostachero coming into the pits to cover off Ilpo Ruotsalainen, who came in early for the pit stop. But crucially here, Andres Mostachero doesn't look like he took tires, and Ilpo Ruotsalainen did, as did Alex Freeman. And there he is behind Ilpo Ruotsalainen as he was before the pit stop phase. So with the mandatory pit stop, there is a 25-second mandatory refueling time, and then it is up to the drivers if they want to add 5 seconds to make it a 30-second pit stop and take fresh tires. It looks like Ilpo Ruotsalainen and Alex Freeman did elect to take new tires, but Andres Mostachero completing a pit stop under 30 seconds. So it looks like for him, he will be out on the same tire that he started the race with. Crucially, though, he does have a 4-second gap over Ilpo Ruotsalainen and Alex Freeman behind him. So can Andres Mostachero keep the pace alive in those used tires for the remaining half of the race? Brian's airline can't quite find a way past Sam King as both the pair of them work through Brian DeSantiago in the 777 BMW as he looks to keep the pace alive out on track in the GT4, yet to complete a pit stop. He is the official GT4 leader out on track for the time being. It will be interesting to see if he can keep his pace alive to get a good overcut over the drivers who have already completed that mandatory pit stop. Jacob Church enters the pits, as does the overall leader, Sarah Liu, after completing 15 laps. She decides now is the time to pit in the 310 Lexus. That gives Kevin Yu the lead in the GT3s. Sarah had a pretty good, I believe it was around 10 seconds was the gap to Kevin Yu before the number 310 Lexus decided to come into the pits. Oh, and unfortunately for Paquet Quan, has to serve a stop-go 30. So the number 10 Porsche ahead of the Lexus there in the pit lane, getting rolling now out on track as Sarah Liu completes the mandatory pit stop. Lots of activity in the pit lane here. The 777 of Brian DeSantiago goes into the pits. Diego Mostachero and Professor Chronotis continuing their battle. This is now for the lead of the GT4s, with Brian DeSantiago now in the pits. Diego Mostachero to the inside. Professor Chronotis can't quite keep the grip around the outside, and the Aston cuts across to stop any overtaking opportunity from developing early on. But Professor Chronotis, using the slipstream, gets closer and closer and into the braking zone, dives to the inside, but not close enough to get a good overlap into the corner to send it into the apex. And so Diego Mostachero will maintain the position ahead of Professor Chronotis. Diego Mostachero now goes into the pits, followed by Professor Chronotis. It looks like they've kind of gotten each other's way as they were entering the pit lane. And Professor Chronotis had to take a bit of an adventurous line to enter the pit lane. So after the pit stop, Brian DeSantiago behind Ilpo Ruotsalainen and Alex Freeman by a considerable 7 seconds there. So staying out longer, not quite working out, as the 253 gets a drive-through for track limits. That Jacob Church in the Camaro. Ilpo Ruotsalainen running a little bit wide, giving the inside to Kevin Yu, the race leader after 17 laps. Rose Gaming with a hydrate. Cheers, my friend. Running out of drinking materials here. I'm almost running out of tea. Gotta start drinking some good old-fashioned water here soon. Sam King in the pits from 4th place in the 999 not BMW, Porsche. Rally Dutchy just completing the pit stops, comes out ahead of Jacob Church, who needs to complete that mandatory pit stop, or not pit stop, excuse me, drive-through penalty, which he picked up for track limits. Josh Ransom in the 325 Honda in the pits, joining Sam King in the pit lane. Dr. Porkchop in the 71 Alpine. Pits from, I believe that was the lead of the GT4s. Now that is in the hands of Joe Chericola in the number 9 AMG, looking to go very long here to get the long overcut done on his fellow competitors in the GT4 field. Jacob Church completing the drive-through penalty as Joe Allenson and Kevin Yu go into the pits to complete their mandatory pit stops. Neil Kerbel working his way through. It'll be interesting to see exactly where Neil Kerbel will come out after all of the GT3 drivers complete their pit stop. He did come in very, very early after his little bit of spin or incident. Didn't quite see what happened, but nonetheless, the Lexus not facing the correct direction off to the side of the track, but recovering very well, already ahead of King and Ransom for 6th place, and now looking to get the jump on drivers further up the field as well. Able to get by the BMW of Joe Allenson, so it is a top 5 position for Neil Kerbel. Hairy moment there between Quan in the number 10 Porsche GT4 and Neil Kerbel in the GT3 Lexus. And now Joe Chericola, the last of the GT4 drivers in the pit lane, as Chronotis gets a drive-through for track limits. Looks like he picked that up right on the final corner. So after the 42 was battling with Diego Mostachero for a top 5 place, unfortunately, the 42 of Chronotis has to come into the pits to serve that drive-through. Now Jim Reynolds and Brian Zerline, the 2 Ferraris out in front, yet to complete their mandatory pit stops. Will they be coming in on this lap after 30 minutes of running into the 50-minute race? Looks like the Ferrari of Jim Reynolds happy to keep going. Sarah Liu remains in front of those drivers who have completed pit stops, ahead of Kevin Yu, and then is Neil Kerbel. But where will Jim Reynolds and Brian Zerline slot into the mix after they complete their mandatory pit stops as well? In the GT4, Ilpo Ruotsalainen on the tail of Andres Mostachero for the lead of the GT4s. Used tires on the BMW, new tires for Ilpo Ruotsalainen in the 204 Camaro. Can he take advantage of that opportunity and use the grip to see himself get back into the position that he started the race out after taking the first pole position of the season in the GT4s? Alex Freeman looking to also get involved in the mix if he can. Just about 2.5 seconds behind this battling duo for the lead. That's Brian Zerline trying to work his way through the duo of Ilpo Ruotsalainen and Andres Mostacero. Into turn 1. Still the BMW able to keep the grip through the corners to stay ahead of the Camaro and not allow Ilpo to sneak a move into the inside of any of these heavy braking zones around the Red Bull Ring. That is what the onboard of the Camaro is seeing. Good late braking from the BMW, but he goes a little bit too deep there. And will that allow the Camaro to get a good alongside position, but not quite a good heavy braking zone for Ilpo here as they approach turn number 6 and 7. If that was to a much heavier braking zone, I think the Camaro might have had a better opportunity of pulling off that move, but it is very hard to keep the grip around the outside of those sweeping corners of turn number 6 and 7. The Mostacero skillfully hanging on to the lead of the GT4 race. Just needs to maintain this position for 16 more minutes. Alex Freeman certainly getting closer, getting within 2 seconds. Did they both take tires? No, they did not. Andres did not take tires. Ilpo in the 204, charging quickly behind, did take new tires. So they are on different strategies here going to the end of the race. I believe Ilpo came in right around the 15-minute mark of the race, and Andres followed on the lap after. And there is Sarah Liu in the Lexus working her way through the field, as that was the 3.25 of Josh Ransom going a little bit wide, exiting turn 4, and Andres Mostacero running a little bit wide of the apex, but able to keep it within the track, avoids the gravel on the exit, and now the tail swinging wide and happy on the BMW. The Camaro looking to take full advantage of the BMW hurting on the rubber around the outside of 9. Very difficult to get a move done here, and the switchback is on and into the final corner. The Camaro sticks a nose into the apex and gets the position. And now down the start-finish straight they go. Can Andres Mostacero fight back for the position? The 204 to the inside. The 105 now has the opportunity to open up the switchback after the 204 takes the curbing a little bit heavily. The 325 of Josh Ransom also trying to work through there. That's the Honda. The black and red Honda in the front there working their way through as the 204 has to defend to the inside with Andres Mostacero around the outside, forcing him wide. That is Ilpo forcing the 105 a little bit wide, but all is in order there, all legal, as Andres Mostacero weaving over the road to try and throw Ilpo Ruotsalainen off, but nothing will throw off the cool, calm, and collected Ilpo. While this battling is going on, Alex Freeman is gaining a lot on these two. He is getting within a second now of the 105 BMW, and can he put a challenge on Andres for the second step of the podium? And if he can get by the BMW quickly, can he challenge the Camaro for the lead come the end of the race? But time is not on the side of the Aston Martin, though. Andres Mostachero, though, still hanging on to Ilpo Ruotsalainen. Neil Kerbel behind Jim Reynolds after the 313 Ferrari completed the mandatory pit stop. So this is a battle for track position for what might end up being a podium position after Brian Zerline completes his mandatory pit stop as well. Oh, Jim Reynolds a little bit shaky on the exit of turn 1. Neil Kerbel gets the power down much more effectively. The Ferrari covering off the inside, but the Lexus with a huge straight line speed advantage. They're already ahead of the Ferrari before the braking zone, and that is the move done and dusted for the 395 Lexus. Let's go back to this GT4 podium battle between Ilpo Ruotsalainen, now in the lead of the race for the GT4s in the 204. Then you've got Andres Mostachero in the 105 silver and red BMW, now having to defend from the black and yellow Aston Martin of Alex Freeman. Ryan DeSantiago about 4 seconds off in the purple BMW for a podium position. So with the 105 on used tires, could that old rubber become a costly disadvantage for Andres Mostachero with the drivers all around him on that new rubber? Oh, Andres Mostachero heavily over the curbs at turn 3, but Alex Freeman going a little bit deep into the corner. Can't quite take full advantage of that BMW jumping over the curbing. But he will look to apply the pressure to Andres in front. Wouldn't say is necessarily hurting on those tires either, is able to keep up pretty well with the 204 Camaro in front, not allowing Ilpo to really run away with the lead so far. But with 10 minutes left in the race, Alex Freeman needs to get by the 105 sooner rather than later if he wants to put a challenge to Ilpo for the overall lead. And around the outside goes Alex Freeman. It's a similar move to what Ilpo Ruotsalainen lined up, but Alex Freeman didn't get the switchback through turn 9 and 10. And on the exit of 10, down the start-finish straight, he looks to take advantage of Andres Mostachero, who defends to the inside of the braking zone of turn 1. And now the switchback is really going to be on for the number 14 as he goes to the inside. That's Brian DeSantiago running way wide in the background, avoiding the Lexus of Neil Kerbel, who is in a podium position after his early incident. Gets the early pit stop, the early undercut on everybody, and Alex Freeman goes to the inside and gets the move on Andres Mostachero. The Lexus of Neil Kerbel trying to work his way through this battle as well. Andres Mostachero picks up the slipstream from the Lexus. Can he keep the grip around the outside of the corner? Going to be very hard to do on those old tires, and Alex Freeman now moves up to the second step of the podium. Jim Reynolds working his way through these two now, and Andres Mostachero just can't keep the grip in those old tires to fight as hard as he would like with Alex Freeman. Brian DeSantiago trying to get closer and closer. 2.5 seconds separates the 777 BMW from the 105. So can he get close enough to put a challenge on the sister BMW car in front and take that podium position away from Andres Mostachero? But he is not giving up easy on those used tires, staying within a good range of Alex Freeman to use the slipstream to help his own lap times. As Joe Allenson there in the 62 BMW, I can't tell, there might have been a little bit of a bump there. But now the 105 looks to take the slipstream with the 62 and stay as close as possible to Alex Freeman and not fall into the grasp of Brian DeSantiago behind. Sarah Liu, comfortable gap after leading for 28 laps of the race. Except for after completing the pit stop, but overall was essentially first place. The 325, Josh Ransom, yellow flag there at the exit of turn 1. Looks like he's able to get back and pointed in the correct direction there. Sarah Liu, very comfortable 21-second lead over Kevin Yu in second place. And you've got Neil Kerbel in third after his early incident, able to recover very well. But he himself in the Lexus did not take new tires, so he might fall to the Ferrari of Jim Reynolds in the 313, trying to stay close in the closing minutes of the race. Can the Ferrari now use the fresh tires to his advantage over the Lexus in front and find himself in a podium place? And the BMW versus BMW GT4 battle has picked up, with Brian DeSantiago challenging for a podium position over Andres Mostachero. The 105 defended from the Camaro for as long as he could, defended from the Aston Martin, and now can he defend from the 777 BMW? 5.5 minutes remain in the season opener. Which BMW will finish on the podium? Will it be Andres with the old tires trying to hang on? Or will it be Brian DeSantiago in the purple 777 with new tires, using all of the grip that he can to try and fight the sister car in front? Two epic battles going on here for podium positions in both classes. Who will finish on the podium in the GT3s? Jim Reynolds running way wide on the exit of turn 3, looking to keep all the speed that he can to stay close to the Lexus and challenge him for that final podium position. But Neil Kerbel, comfortable on those old tires, looks to stay ahead of Jim Reynolds pretty comfortably here now, opening up the gap, and doesn't allow the 313 any closer. And now the two BMWs are going side by side into turn number 4. Brian DeSantiago on the inside, forcing the 105 wide, but with old tires, it's going to be so hard for Andres to keep the grip. But nonetheless, the fight still lies inside Andres as he goes now to the inside, forces DeSantiago to the wide line, and he has no wide line again through turn 7. And will he just have to tuck in, or is he going to force his way through turn 8? They're still side by side. The Porsche of Sam King working his way through. Brian DeSantiago has the inside of turn 8. but the 105 goes way late on the brakes and goes wide of turn 9, allows Brian DeSantiago to the inside, and he will happily take that final podium position away. Oh, and there was contact! Alex Freeman and the number 10 both stranded at the start-finish straight, so that will promote Brian DeSantiago to second and Andres Mostachero to third. So in fact, both BMWs will end up on the podium here unless any other major crazy incident like that happens. And Alex Freeman still stranded there and now having to return back to the pits is the number 14 Aston Martin. Oh man, oh man. Yeah, not quite sure what happened. It looked like Alex Freeman and the number 10 Porsche might have gotten involved in a little bit of an incident there, as both of them were under yellow flags exiting turn 10. And a big oof indeed there. So can't really say too much, and it's a bit too far now to go and look at the replay as to what exactly went on there. But very unfortunate for both the Aston Martin and the number 10 Porsche so late in the race to get involved in that major of an incident. Jim Reynolds not giving up on this fight for the podium position in the GT3s. Neil Kerbel still ahead of him in the 395 Lexus on old tires. 49 minutes of racing those tires have seen on the Lexus compared to Jim Reynolds' fairly new tires. He came in pretty late after the halfway mark of the race, so those tires are very new compared to the rubber underneath the Lexus of Neil Kerbel.
The window is now closed.
Oh, Dr. Porkchop in the Alpine forced a little bit wide after Neil Kerbel takes the curbs heavily there. Jim Reynolds takes full advantage and goes to the inside and will take that final podium position away from the Lexus. Can he maintain this position for this lap and one more with time ticking away? Not sure if Sarah Liu will finish on this lap or the next. We'll tune in with her when she comes closer to the start-finish line. Neil Kerbel having to sniff up the inside. Jim Reynolds, a little bit of a loss of control exiting the corner, but still able to keep it rolling. And here we have Sarah Liu coming up to the line. Will she pull off and wait for the timer to tick? No! Leader is on the final lap. One lap left for the 310 Lexus. And that, crucially, for Neil Kerbel, allows him another 2.7 miles of battling with Jim Reynolds for that podium position. Yeah, Sarah had a really comfortable gap behind to Kevin Yu, but still electing to take that extra lap. Oh, Neil Kerbel taking it drift style through turn 9. Not going to help his chances of the overtake down the start-finish straight, but earning some style points instead as they cross the start-finish line to start their final lap. Jim Reynolds gives the position back to the 395. What happened there? Joe Allenson in the background nearly losing it in the 62 BMW. But still keeping it under control there. And this is a finish for the GT3s and the GT4. Sarah Liu crossing the line in the 310 Lexus, commanding win from start to finish. And there is Ilpo Ruotsalainen crossing in the 204 Camaro. The two leaders taking the checkered flag at the same time. That was pretty cool to see there. And then Brian DeSantiago does take second place. Andres Mostachero stays within a second of the sister BMW. They both end up on the podium. Kevin Yu across the line in second place in the GT3 field in the number 95 Ferrari. And then Jim Reynolds and Neil Kerbel continuing their battle all the way to the end here. Jim Reynolds gets back ahead of the Lexus. Can he maintain the position through the final corner? It looks like he will. So Jim Reynolds takes a podium position at the last lap away from Neil Kerbel in the Lexus, who takes the checkered flag in fourth. Joe Allenson in the BMW in fifth place. Diego Mostachero in fourth. Professor Chronotis fifth. Joe Chericola takes sixth in the GT4s. Rally Duchy in seventh place. Just a few corners left for the 621, or excuse me, the final corner here, rounding out from the 621 and the 999 Porsche. And so that is the season opener complete here at the Red Bull Ring. Love to invite our podium finishers from the GT3s and the GT4s into the green room for a quick chat as to see how your guys' race went from your perspective. Take it back to our lovely studio here as we wait for the GT4 and GT3 finishers for a quick chat. One Bigley with a hydrate. Cheers, my friend. You can't see the water bottle, but it's there, I promise. Neil gave that position back. Well done, Neil. Good sportsmanship, my friend. But a good battle from start to finish from the Lexus of Neil Kerbel. We've got Sarah Liu and Brian DeSantiago in the green room. Let's start with the GT3s this time. We'll bring in Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Happy Wednesday, and congrats on the win. How's it going?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a quite good race, but a bit tense on the final stint, like final 10 minutes, because I got like a consistent like a 3 cuts in 10 minutes.
Nice. Yeah, that'll certainly make you a little bit sweaty all the way to the end. But yeah, talk us through the race a little bit. It looked like you kind of took the lead and never really looked back there.
Yeah, I practiced a lot on the Rebel Ring before, and I kind of like I was a little bit struggling on Lexus because there was no BOP on that. But after LFM giving Bob to Lexus, is like the car starts to willing to turn, and yeah, makes it more smoother. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So just kind of using all your knowledge there and taking a pretty big commanding win there. I think it was around 20 seconds at the end there for the lead in. What made you kind of go through for another lap? You could have pulled off and taken the checkered flag a lap early, but you like the Red Bull Ring so much you wanted to go for another lap, huh?
I thought the timer should end like before I passed the final line, so I didn't brake, but I didn't really expect that.
That's funny.
That was a mistake.
That's funny. Well, in all honesty, that allowed for a few battles to continue on for another lap, so it kind of helped or hurt someone depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah, nonetheless, still a good, fantastic result. Way to start the season off on a high note, Sarah.
Thank you. And,
yeah, good luck
for
for
the
your
comment.
Yeah, no problem. Always happy to do it. Good luck in the rest of the season. We've got a fun calendar. I think 7 races up ahead. Is there any track in particular besides the Red Bull Ring that you're looking forward to?
I think I kind of a little bit forgot what's the calendar.
Fair enough. It's long races or a long season, 7 races, 6 more to go.
But,
Silverstone,
like, first time I
Indianapolis,
checked that-
Zolder, Imola,
Yeah.
Donington, Paul Ricard, and Bathurst is the calendar.
I love them. I love
Heck
them.
yeah.
They're interesting tracks. Yeah, very interesting tracks, and very good for multi-class races. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's been a few tracks that have certainly surprised me for how good the racing can be on them. And yeah, looking forward to what sort of action you guys can provide in the rest of the season. Congrats on that, and good luck in the rest of the 6 remaining races.
Thank you, and have a good night, sir.
Oh my goodness, things are glitching here. But nonetheless, we've got the GT4 podium sitters, Brian DeSantiago and Andres Mostachero. Welcome, BMW podium sitters.
Hello. Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm in podium. I'm happy.
Yeah, that was a great battle between you two. Andres on the old tires, having to defend for your life there.
I made such a mistake on the pit entry. I couldn't see where the line was, so I slowed down way too much. I panicked, and I went for no tires. I was happy I was starting. I exited in front of Ilpo, and man, couldn't hold it.
Yeah, no, you defended very well from the Camaro, and then Alex Freeman also, and defended from Brian very well. So I must say that was quite a great effort from you, and very fortunate to finish on the podium. Just a bit unlucky for Alex Freeman up in front, but you really did deserve it, I think. So well done to you, honestly, for the battling it out from those old tires and for however long you were able to do it. I think you guys came in pretty early too, right?
Yeah, we came in a few laps in because I think he was getting frustrated being behind me, and then then he went in the pit. I'm like, oh no, he's trying to undercut me. What do I do? So many thoughts were going through my head, and so I just like, oh no, I need to pit now in order to come out even, right? So didn't work out this time.
Yeah, not this time. Still plenty of opportunities left. 6 races remaining. And Brian, we'll take it over to you now. You were kind of behind the top 3 for kind of the beginning, kind of 30-ish minutes of the race, and then in the last kind of 10 minutes, the car seemed to come alive, and you were right on the tail of them.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest. I was completely from a lack of practice on this track, even though it's mainly straights. But yeah, no. After I got like a hang of it on how this BMW hooks up the corners, I just pretty much locked in all the times I needed to.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, you got the season started on a high note there. Great battles between you two also. And it just looked like just very evenly matched. Super fun to watch between you two. I can't wait to see what else happens in the remaining races. What are you two looking forward to in the remainder of the championship going forward? We'll start with you, Andres.
I hope we have some more great racing like that. I mean, that was super fun. I know I defended kind of hard on Ilpo a little bit there, and I hope I didn't upset him by taking some weird lines there. But congrats to him. I know he's not on here right now, but congrats to him and congrats to Freeman, even though he unfortunately got taken out. And congrats to you, Brian, because absolutely amazing drive from you guys. So awesome job.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, as far as for me, as what's coming up for this season, hopefully stay in the podium positions at least, or if
there
not,
you go. Yeah,
with the times that Mostacero and Ilpo and everybody else is running. That way I can be even more competitive with them and give them a run for their money. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's as far as for what I expect for the future.
Heck yeah, man. Super exciting stuff, and very excited that all the seasons are getting back underway. The rookies, and now this ACC is back at Trackilicious.
Let's go.
And thank you guys for joining us for a quick chat. Congrats on starting the season on a good note, finishing in second and third. Brian second, Andres in third, and good luck to you guys in the remainder of the season. Hopefully, we'll see you back in the stream.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, same here. I hope to be here in the podium a little bit longer.
Well, thanks, guys. I'll move you back to the green room here. Appreciate you guys joining us, as well as Sarah from the GT3 field. So that will conclude the season opener for the Wednesday Multiclass Championship at the Red Bull Ring. Next week, we will take this party to a completely different place all the way across the world. Kinda. We'll go not to Europe. We'll go to England at Silverstone for the 50-minute race next week. And if you are interested in getting signed up for this championship and any others that Trackilicious hopes, SimGrid is the place to go to get signed up. Discord has all of the latest news and information about all the servers and all that sort of jazz, as well as a good community of folks to chat about anything sim racing or motorsports related. So if you want to get yourself involved, join the Discord, join the championships on SimGrid in ACC, iRacing, and LMU. All three are offered here at Trackilicious to pros and rookies alike. All are welcome in all of the races. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We couldn't do it without you guys participating in the races and watching along as well. Huge shout out to all of those with the long returning subscriptions, 33 months, I believe, from two of our lovely chatters earlier on. So thank you, as always, to you guys from myself and all of the hardworking admins doing the stewarding, the posting, the results, getting everything set up on SimGrid, and all of that in the background. Huge shout out to all of you guys watching along and making this the great community that it truly is for sim racing. Stick around for the raid of IB Schofield Racing, doing some streaming on Twitch. Spread the love from one sim racing community to another. Tell them Trackilicious sent you, and have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are joining us from. I have been Kuja Terakov. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will see you all next time.